The 2024 NBA season is almost here. After a complete offseason to rest up and soak in the summer sun, the best hoopers from around the world are once again ready to lace up their sneakers and take their talents back to the biggest basketball stages in the world. And with the talent levels at an all-time high, we're finally going to see what truly happens when a hurricane meets a tornado. Can the Nuggets repeat? Will the Warriors once again rise to the top? Does LeBron have one last run in him? Or will 2024 mark a new era in the NBA? The storylines are endless, and only time will tell which team will stand above all the rest. One thing is for sure, though, a war is coming. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 2024 Western Conference predictions. First off, let's use the process of elimination to see which teams are out of contention. This is an area I'm sure we'll all agree on. The Trailblazers, the Jazz, the Rockets, and the Spurs will be the teams ranked 15th to 12th. And as for the Trailblazers, they're going through a curious rebuilding phase. I mean, they just drafted a generational talent in Scoot Henderson, so conventional wisdom says to develop and surround him with other young talents, right? Well, Joe Cronin, their general manager, has other plans. He just signed 29-year-old Jeremy Grant to a 5-year, $160 million contract, and he doesn't seem to be in any hurry to trade 33-year-old Damian Lillard while his stock is still high. Honestly, I have no idea what he's trying to do, but I do know where his team is heading, and that's the bottom of the Western Conference standings. The Utah Jazz are up next, and they're in a similar position as the Trailblazers. After trading away Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, they were on their way to a full rebuild, but after Lauri Markkanen's breakout year, their front office seems to believe that he's him, and they're trying to build around him. The only problem is, no stars want to relocate to the city of Utah. Deron Williams tried it, and anybody they draft is going to be way too young and won't help move the needle for years to come, and by then, Markkanen will be out of his prime. Like the situation with Dame Time, the Jazz ought to trade Markkanen while his stock is still high for more picks or young players with potential. The Houston Rockets are up next. They recently acquired Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet to help grow their young players, but unfortunately, one of those young players, Kevin Porter Jr., was recently charged with assault. On the bright side, they still have a boatload of talents in Jalen Green, Amen Thompson, Alperen Şengün, and Jabari Smith Jr. Still though, it'll be at least another 2 to 3 years before they're expected to make any noise, except if we include the trash-talking noise that Brooks will unleash. I'm sure that'll come immediately. The San Antonio Spurs are next on this list. They won't get too far in the standings because they're too young, but because of Victor Wembanyama, all eyes are on them. In a couple of years, though, along with their other first-round drafts like Jeremy Sohan, Keldon Johnson, and Devin Vassell, they'll have quite the young core, and I see them being perennial championship contenders for at least a decade, like the Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker era. Now, this next team I have at number 11 may be a bit controversial, but I got the New Orleans Pelicans here. As we all know by now, the Pelicans will go as far as Zion Williamson takes them, and although he's been working out like crazy and looks to be in fantastic shape, his track record is so abysmal that I've completely lost faith in his ability to stay healthy. I mean, just 24 games in his first season, 61 in his second season, missed the complete third season, then only to come back and play just 29 measly games in his fourth season. I hope he does come back and dominate in 2024, but if I had to place a bet, I'd say he'll start off strong, but to succumb to some type of injury mid-season again, which will ultimately derail the Pelicans. And with that being said, let's move on to some of the good stuff. It's time for the 4 teams that'll enter the play-in tournament. And for these 4 teams, in order, I have the Grizzlies at 10, the Mavericks at 9, the Timberwolves at 8, and the Clippers at 7. These teams aren't bad per se, but the West is just completely loaded at the moment, and being good isn't good enough anymore. So starting off at number 10, the Memphis Grizzlies won't have their superstar thug in Ja Morant for the first 25 games of the season because of his suspension, so they're obviously going to take a hit. Then on top of that, although their second-in-command thug Dylan Dynasty Brooks wasn't helping them with his on-the-court antics, he was their vocal leader and an important part of their identity. Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. are now going to have to dig deep and find ways to win games while they shift into leadership positions, and although they'll ultimately succeed, this is a soul-searching phase for them, and given the level of competition in today's NBA, I see this costing them games, and ultimately, they'll be back in the play-in tournament. The Dallas Mavericks are up next, and Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. Uncle Drew and Luka Magic. What a disaster. These are some of the most prolific scorers we have in today's NBA, but unfortunately, they're also some of the most selfish players. What a combination, right? I'm with Charles Barkley on this one when he said, I don't think the Luka-Kyrie thing is going to work. The Timberwolves are up next, and they're led by Anthony Edwards and supported by Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns. Now, Ant-Man is the real deal, but he's only 22 years of age at the moment. It'll take another year or two before he becomes a full-fledged superstar who could properly lead his team, and that takes me to the root of the problem with this team. As good as they are, I just don't believe in Gobert and Cat. One is widely hated by most of the NBA, while the other, according to Jimmy Butler, is as soft as a baby, and that's that. And after them are the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, if healthy, the Clippers are championship contenders, but having Kawhi Leonard and Paul George healthy for an entire season, based on their track records, is wishful thinking at this point. Then, to make things worse, the new rule of load management isn't helping them. So, although I see them ultimately making the playoffs, I see them being a play-in tournament at best when it comes to the regular season standings. Now, let's get to the top dogs. Now we're on to the cream of the crop, the best of the best, the teams that are guaranteed a playoff spot. At number 6, I have the Los Angeles Lakers. Rob Pelinka did a great job at stealing players left, right, and center, and honestly, he should be incarcerated for this type of larceny. All jokes aside, the Lakers are a pretty well-balanced team. The only thing is, they'll still only go as far as LeBron and Anthony Davis take them, and unfortunately, Anthony Davis is a glass cannon, while LeBron will be 39 years old. Again, like the Clippers, the new load managing rule isn't doing them any favors, and because of all this, I got them finishing as the 6th seed in the West. At number 5, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder, and this one is quite simple. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is slowly becoming a superstar. His ability to break down defenses, score in the mid-range, or get to the basket is about as good as it gets. Then, beside him, he's going to now have Chet Holmgren, who's Victor Wembanyama's arch nemesis. Then, at the point guard position, they have a 6'8" Josh Giddey, and along with their other role players, this team is honestly going to be the most exciting young team to watch, and I see them making noise in 2024. At number 4, I have the Denver Nuggets. Last season, I was right about the Denver Nuggets landing the 1 seed, and the reason I have them dropping to number 4 is because of one reason. They have a target on their backs now. Every single night, teams are going to be going after them, and every single night, players will be giving it their all to beat them. So as good as Jokic and the Nuggets are as a team, this constant pressure will wear them out a bit in the regular season and will cost them some games here and there. They'll still be a force in the playoffs though, but in the regular season standings, I have them finishing as the 4th seed. At number 3 are the Sacramento Kings. With Mike Brown having them imitate the Warriors tit for tat, with De'Aaron Fox slowly turning into a superstar, with a poor man's Jokic and ankle-loving Sabonis, and with a host of other young talents just blossoming, like Keegan Murray for example, I only see them getting better. Then on top of that, their stars are in the midst of their prime, so they won't be taking as many games off, which will only help win more games for them. The Kings have a bright future ahead of them, and I see them grabbing the number 3 seed in the West. At number 2, I have the Phoenix Suns. They say a good offense beats a good defense any day of the week, and when it comes to offense, the Phoenix Suns are completely loaded. Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. Then on top of that, they were also able to keep DeAndre Ayton and add Bol Bol. Sheesh, guys. Talk about a cheat code. Things might start off a bit slow for the Suns because of how new the roster is, but once they gain traction, once they figure things out, the league better be careful. Anyway, I have them being the second best team in the Western Conference in 2024. And finally, at the top of the Western Conference standings in 2024, I have the Golden State Warriors. This one is simple. Their five-man lineup in 2023 was the best across the league. That's regular season and playoffs. Their only weakness last year was their chemistry in their bench, but after that Jordan Poole-Chris Paul swap, that's been solved. Some may say CP3's a bit old now, that he's a bit injury-prone, and while that is true, he'll only be asked to play about 20 minutes a night, which should help preserve his body throughout the season. In 2024, the Warriors won't care about where they place in the regular season standings, but their hunger to perfect their craft will launch them straight back to the top of the NBA. And then from there is the most exciting time of the year. So for the play-in tournament, I have it exactly how it is in the regular season standings. The Timberwolves will grab the 8th seed and play the Warriors in the first round, just like how Ant-Man wanted it, while the Clippers grab the 7th seed and play the Suns again in the first round. Then for the other two first-round series, we have the Kings playing the Lakers and the Nuggets playing the Thunder. So let's jump right in. Although Ant-Man is a beast, I see the Warriors' experience and chemistry proving to be just too much for the Timberwolves to handle, and because of that, I see them running away with this one 4-1. As for the Clippers and the Suns, it'll pretty much be the exact same as what happened in 2023. Kawhi's body won't hold up, and no matter which way I look at it, I gotta say Suns in 5. When it comes to the Lakers and the Kings, well, I actually got the Kings winning this one in 6 games. LeBron's age is finally going to catch up with him a little, and with the fast pace the Kings play with, it won't bode well for Anthony Davis either. Then for the last first-round series with the Nuggets and the Thunder, unfortunately for the young OKC team, they're going to run into a juggernaut, and I see Nikola Jokic in Denver sweeping them. For the second round, we now have the Warriors against the Nuggets and the Suns against the Kings. So, first off is the elephant in the room. Golden State versus Denver. Steph Curry versus Nikola Jokic. So, I know the Nuggets seem like a juggernaut, and they are. With the way Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray balled out in the 2023 playoffs, they seem primed to repeat as champions. The odds makers are probably with them as well, but the thing is, they're up against the greatest dynasty the modern NBA has ever seen. Last year was an anomaly for the Warriors because of everything that transpired with Draymond, Poole, Wiggins, and GP2, but in 2024, with Steph Curry still playing at an MVP level and with the chemistry issues completely solved, I see the Warriors pulling away with this one in 7 games. Draymond Green and Chris Paul are some of the highest IQ players in the league, and one way or another, they'll manipulate things into their favor and slug this one out. It won't be pretty, it won't be easy, but I got the Warriors advancing to the Western Conference Finals. On the other side of the second round series, we got the Suns versus the Kings. This will be high-level offense versus high-level offense, and I gotta go with the Suns on this one. Kevin Durant is still at the top of his game, and although Phoenix will get shocked at how good the Kings actually are, I see them pulling away with this series in 6 games. After that, we have the matchup we've all been waiting to see for years, the Warriors against the Suns. Steph Curry versus Kevin Durant. All right, so for this one, I got the Warriors for one main reason. When we're talking about offense, we can go back and forth about which team is the more offensively potent team. But when it comes to defense, that's where the Warriors stand out. I know last year they were horrible, but in the year before that, in 2022, the Warriors were the #1 defensive team in the league, and with Draymond getting his voice back in the locker room, I see that being the case again. Then the cherry on top is that Chris Paul will know all the ins and outs of the Suns team. He's been there for 3 seasons? And although they have a new coach, although they have a lot of new members on the roster, I just feel that he'll know how to deal with Booker and Ayton. And because of that, Golden State will have the edge when it comes to strategy. So, I say Warriors in 6. Just like that, they'll book another ticket to the NBA Finals.